Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Bullet Sports Spotlights. We are here talking about the men's swimming program, and joining me today for the second time in 3 weeks is head coach of the swimming program, Greg Brown. Greg, it's great to see you again. How are things going since the last time we talked?
So it's going good, Corey. Definitely excited to talk about the other half of the program this go around. But we've been doing good. Things are going good from my end. I'm working hard recruiting, working hard changing all those new diapers for my 3-month-old still, and it's been good. It's been good this semester, even though it's been different. It has gone by fast. Like, I can't believe that it's almost Thanksgiving now. And we've got just like a little bit less than a week's worth of practice. I've really enjoyed getting to know the freshmen. I mean, it has been one thing, silver lining so far this semester, is that I've got 19 freshmen here, and we've been doing a lot of good work.
Yeah, it's been an interesting semester, to say the least. And of course, you're entering your second year here at Gettysburg. You had an awesome first year, and we were talking about this before we started recording. The women did so well. We talked about them winning the conference title and setting so many pool and school records last year. But the men's team really came through, and they didn't set as many pool records and school records because we had those guys 5 years ago that were just on another level and really just set an incredible standard for our program. Guys like Jason Potter, Mike Harmon, Ashton Lyons, and so forth. But these guys that you had on the team last year, I mean, walking into this situation in your first year, you had to feel pretty good about it. And I think they performed up to expectations for you. So talk a little bit about that first year with the men's team.
Yeah, I think they did. I think one of the big differences between the two programs, the men's program and the women's program, is that it was a much smaller freshman class on the men's side than the women's side. So I think on the women's side, you had a lot more unknowns because I had 9 freshman women last year. So you never know how that's going to go and how that's season's going to progress, because it's hard being in college to change. It's a change in life. Whereas the men's team was very upperclassmen heavy. Certainly a lot of really strong seniors that were here. I can't say enough about Jeff Ragatz. I mean, he was an amazing the Nighthawk was an amazing captain and just did a tremendous job leading the team and getting people excited. And certainly he swam outstanding at the conference meet. So, but we had him, Josh Parker, we had Adam Diaz, Alex Howard. All those guys were really good. And then, certainly the current senior class, those guys who were juniors last year, I mean, that is a big group of guys. I think 7, 8 guys in that group. And then even, the sophomores. I mean, you're talking about Sam Nonamaker and Oliver Pickering and Christian Tolino. So we were very mature on the men's side in regards to swimming. And so it was a little bit easier, I think, to get a read on where we could fit as a program, both in the conference and just within themselves. And I think that it went really well. I was really pleased with the way that the men trained and looked out for each other and just were as a group. It was a very positive atmosphere, and it was fun to be around. And I think that, you come in here and you talked about those records. I mean, I can see them right out here. The pool records are very fast. The men's team records are, we're going to have to work hard as from recruiting and from a swimming standpoint to really get after those. I would love in the next couple of years to get a couple of those relay records down. But those guys from a number of years ago, we're going to have to earn it. There's no doubt about that.
And, of course, your guys set a couple records last year, too. You had Edelson, 100 fly, first sub-50 fly in program history. He did awesome. Oliver Pickering actually set the 200 fly record his freshman year, so he has that up on the board. And Duncan Proxmire went and did a great 1,000 split and set that school record, too. So there's guys that were definitely challenging on that board and have their names etched up there and that blue acrylic on the wall as well. So I got to, talking about those moments, obviously those are pretty vivid. I know Edelson's 100 fly race and 200 fly race in particular is etched in my mind. But what are some of your top moments from your first year with the Orange and Blue?
So I think when you talk about Jack Edelson, I mean, I think that's one right off the bat. I mean, he had an amazing conference meet. He swam great all year. I could not think of a meet off the top of my head where Jack didn't have a great meet, didn't work extremely hard. But yeah, I mean, anytime you break 50 point in the 100 fly, that's a special moment for a swimmer. And that 200 fly, I mean, I think he was in second for 195 yards. Jack Sinton from F&M was swimming a great race, really took it out fast. And, I think that we really had Jack trained well and ready to go, and he was able to close that race exactly the way they wanted to do it. And you can't also forget, I think going into the freestyle in the 200 IM, he was like 6th or 7th. He had an unbelievable last 50 yards to get into 4th place in the 200 IM. And every point was going to matter at that conference meet. So, he was great last year. I got to mention, when we went to swimmer Sinus, that was the first road meet. And it was a big one. We were ready. Like, we were excited about that. Their men's team had some really, really fast guys. They had a great dual meet against Swarthmore, probably like 2 weeks before that. So we knew it was going to be a great meet. And I put Duncan in the 1,000 and the 200. I knew that he wasn't going to have a big challenge in the 1,000. And so I brought him right back in the 200. He won the 1,000, no problem. I knew he was going to win the 1,000. And then comes back in the 200 and he does a lifetime best. And he, to that point, I'd yet to see that kind of enthusiasm and energy from him. I think that was a big stepping stone for him as he moved forward. I think that he just got faster and better. And but that was a great moment. I loved that moment. I was pumped for him because that's a hard double. That's a hard double to do. But we had, I talked about it in the women's meeting, but when we swam Mary Washington. That was just a defining meet for our program to this point in my tenure. I think we were still, everybody was kind of feeling the situation out first semester. They were getting to know me. I was getting to know them. They were getting to know the training. They were getting to know my isms and the way I, tell stories and all that kind of stuff. But we went to Mary Washington there. I think it was like mid to late January, a couple weeks after our training trip. And just had an amazing meet, and the attitudes were just spot on. And I said it when we talked about the women. The same goes for the men, though. Like, that was the jump off point. That was the point where I think everybody who was swimming for Gettysburg last year said to themselves, "Wow, we can win. Not just win at some meets, and not just be competitive at the conference meet, but we can win a championship this year." And we had so many great races throughout the season. The conference meet certainly was, that's, we talk about Jack, but he wasn't the only one who was amazing. When you think about Nick Cox, that was his big, breakout. I think that, when Nick's went 50.3 in the 100 backstroke leading off the 400 medley relay there on Friday night, it got real silent on the pool deck because people are like, wow, who's this guy? Who's this guy coming in? Dropping a 50-point low. That's only a couple tenths off that 100 backstroke record. And he did get the 50 backstroke record leading off the 200 medley relay. So, Duncan, swam really well all year. He was that guy who you put him in the 1,000 and the 500 every single dual meet. And I tried not to because that's a lot. But if I had to put him in the 500 and 1,000 every single meet, he would have never complained. He would have never had a problem with it. And he won those races all year, and he dropped 9 seconds in the 500 at the conference meet from his best time, and made an NCAA B cut again in the 1,000, and his 200 really took off. I think the other race that was really great from the conference meet was the men's 800 free relay. I know that Swarthmore set the pool record and beat them, but they were well under the NCAA B cut. And I was hopeful maybe they had a chance to get in there. Ultimately they finished with one of the 20 fastest 800 free relays in Division III last year.
So, Greg, obviously a lot of great performances at the conference meet. You mentioned Edelson, you mentioned Nick Cox, you mentioned Duncan Proxmire, of course. Oliver Yancey hit B-cut in the 50 free. You got Sam Donamaker and Aiden Collins right there. Jeff Raggets, of course, was in the backstroke events too. A lot of great performances there. Talk about the team's overall performance at conferences. And I know not a lot of people realize we were actually a man down at conferences too, and still managed to almost pull that off and win that conference title.
Yeah, that was tough. It's those guys swam their hearts out. They really did. They went after it for 4 straight days, and it was just as much about. We talked about all those guys who had those high finishes, but let's not forget about the guys who just decided to swim the 400 IM a week before the meet. Or, Ethan Broomer just volunteering to swim the mile, to just try to grab some points. I mean, he swam the mile and the 200 fly on the same day. So that, there were things like that. A kid like a Zach Evans, who just kind of jumped up there and gets fourth in the 100 breaststroke. Those type of things were huge in regards to how we were performing and how we were doing. And they put it all together. And it was really unfortunate that we only had 17 guys and we lost by 17 and a half points or 18 and a half points or something. I mean, that's literally one more person who can get you like 11th or 12th in 3 events, and which is not something that's unreasonable for us to do here. And their energy was just fantastic. The enthusiasm that they put behind their races, their teammates' races, the women's races. I genuinely believe our team was the best at getting behind each other all 4 days. And, I know that they had the heart and the desire to be champions last year. It just, and you can't take it away from F&M. I mean, F&M swam great. I mean, they had some guys there that were just real talented. And, so they certainly earned it. But, for having one less guy, we made them earn it. And let's not forget, too, we lost a dual meet to Swarthmore last year. We lost a dual meet, and that was a heartbreaker. That was a meet we lost in the last – came down to the last relay. Winner who wins the relay wins the meet. But if you'd asked me, would I have taken winning the dual meet over finishing ahead of somebody at the conference meet? I mean, you're darn right I'd pick finishing ahead of at the conference meet. I mean, that's me, and that's what I want to try to do. So, I think that the guys did take a lot of pride out of finishing ahead of them at the conference meet. I think they would have liked to have finished ahead of F&M, but it didn't work out. But that doesn't take away anything from the performance and just everything they did to make it a great 4 days.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch the men's team. Very enthusiastic, very supportive of one another. There was a lot of excitement on the pool deck, and really it took record-breaking performances by F&M swimmers, guys like Chris Scavone, Tom Graminski, who are now on our pool board, to really put F&M ahead of us. But overall, I felt like we had a great team and a great performance overall. So switching gears and looking at this semester, you mentioned the swimmers you have on campus. You've got 19 freshmen, a couple upperclassmen, particularly on the men's side, guys that are doing research projects and have leadership responsibilities on campus as well. So talk about the training both on campus with the student athletes you have in the pool now, as well as those that are training off campus as well.
So we've tried to run it pretty close to how we do it if it was a normal year. I want them to get that just regular flow of being in college. You get up in the morning, you go to class, take care of your schoolwork, you come in here about 4 o'clock and you get your practice in. And, so we've worked, especially really over the last couple of weeks, 2-hour practices. And I know the guys have been getting in the weight room and taking care of business there. And it's been a real treat. I've really enjoyed getting to know the freshmen really well. It has been really nice to have a handful of upperclassmen from the men's team who've been here, who can help these guys, show them the ropes, make sure they understand what the expectations are. I mean, we've dialed back significantly the expectation to what we're doing right now. There's got to be flexibility from my end and understanding from my end that this is not a normal school year, that kids may have a professor who needs to meet with them. They may have a class that runs into it. They may have a lab that cuts into some of the time just because of the way things have been stretched out this year. And so we've been very understanding to that. We've got some good yards in. We did a little inter-squad meet 2 weeks ago where it was just kind of like a sprint invite kind of a thing where we just did a handful of events. And, we're going to do another one this weekend. We got some events tonight, and then we're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to do a handful more events, and we'll see how we do. They have the option to suit up if they want to suit up and see how fast they can go. And either way, we're filming this stuff. I get the camera from you, and we set it up upstairs. And I've had great film sessions this week from kids on the team. And, we'll keep doing that. We'll keep comparing it. And, I want to make sure that however this moves forward, whether it's next semester or next year, that these guys are getting everything they need to be ready to compete in the Centennial and to swim against great teams. We'd upped our schedule this year to, swim some really challenging opponents. We put Hopkins on the schedule. We had put Carnegie Mellon on the schedule. We had put Washington and Lee on the schedule. I mean, that's three really, really fast teams in there. And, we want to keep that kind of stuff going. So whatever we're doing now, it's to get these gentlemen who are freshmen prepared. So whether it's next semester or next year, they can have a great year.
That's great to hear. And I know I've walked in a couple film sessions. It's always fun to see how you're interacting with student athletes, breaking down their strokes and their turns and everything too. Really working on those little details, which I know you love to focus on too with them. That's a great segue too into my final question is just, talking about the goals of the program. I mean, obviously this year is still a little up in the air. We don't really know what's going on for the rest of the competitive year or the spring semester right now. We hope to hear information on that soon. But looking, this year, long-term goals, just everything, what are your hopes for the future of bullet swimming?
So nothing has changed from my standpoint in regards to what I want to accomplish. Maybe it's going to be a year later than what we want to do, but ultimately it's the same stuff. We want to win a conference championship. We want to bring kids in, whether they're recruits or kids who are already here, and we want to give them the opportunity every year to contend and win a conference championship. We want to give them the opportunity every year to contend for and win individual and relay medals. And we want to give them a shot to qualify for NCAAs. I came here to Gettysburg because I believe that this could be a top 25 program every single year, not kind of bouncing in and out kind of a deal, but every year we want to send not just a couple kids or a handful of kids to NCAAs. We want to send a team to NCAAs. Are we ready to be Hopkins? Are we ready to be Emory? We got to build towards that. We got to work towards that. Got to recruit hard. Got to take care of the kids that we have here in the pool. But I came here to Gettysburg, even though I left Division I to come here and coach in Division III. I didn't leave behind my desire to be successful and have the program be successful. And I want to carry on the tradition that, George Kennedy and Mike Rowley, that they did such an amazing job here building up this program for the men and the women. And there's a lot of All-Americans up there, and only 4 of those kids swam for Greg Brown. Everybody else swam for somebody else. So I've got a lot of work to do to catch up to that. And you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation about guys like, Potter and Harmon, Doherty, just some amazing swimmers who have swam on the men's side. And ultimately, you want the program to be highly successful, not just for the kids you have right now, but for those guys who were here 5 years ago, 10 years ago, guys who were All-Americans in the 80s. I want them to know, I want our alumni to know that I'm here to work hard and make that a continued thing. That they can come in here, they can drop into the pool and look up on the record board and see a bunch of 20s or 21s or 22s or whatever year they are, and they can see the All-Americans, and they can know that those NCAA qualifiers are there. And we're going to keep working hard at it, but we're not going to do it at the expense of other things. And I think that's the big difference about being here at Gettysburg is I'm really comfortable with the classes and the majors that these kids want to take. We've got some kids who take some really challenging majors. And, certainly a lot of other schools can boast the same thing. I was a history major in college, Corey. I'm never going to sit here and tell you that being a history major was super hard.
So was I, actually.
So there you go. So you know what I'm talking about. And, it's something that I want to make sure that these kids enjoy the experiences that they should have in college. And hopefully next year, we can get back to that being more of the experience and less talk about COVID and masks and online Zoom classes and things like that. It's been hard for kids. And, I want to make sure that we get back to it. So that's why I said we're trying to keep it normal, and we're trying to train them and treat them like college swimmers, not treat them like, somewhere in between college and high school, that they're like lost in purgatory right now. But they're in here, and they're training. They're bullets. They're college swimmers who are getting ready at some point, hopefully sooner than later, to do the things I just talked about: championships, medals, NCAA qualifying. So that's what I see. Like, this is a great place, Corey. It really is. I love the brand here. Even if you don't know there's a college in this town, the likelihood that a person having heard of Gettysburg is really high. You know, like I was head coach at Marywood University in Scranton. And it's like, if you weren't watching The Office, you didn't know where Scranton was. And I can tell you that it's not as glamorous as The Office makes it. But here is different, you know. Here, you know, this is a pivotal point in American history here. And, you know, so I love the brand and I love our facility. And this is a great academic school, you know, in a way that it's really giving these kids quality education and preparing them for life afterwards. So, you know, I think we got a big future. I really do. And I'm here to work hard and recruit hard and train the kids and, you know, make the administration and the school and the alumni really proud of us.
Well, if your first year at Gettysburg was any indication, you are off to a rocking start. The team did awesome in the first year. We had to do a lot of updates on those pool boards, the All-American boards, and, of course, the women's conference title too. Hoping to add a men's conference title in the near future as well. So, Greg, that's all the questions I had for you. I know you got a lot of stuff to get ready for the weekend and getting this inner squad all set up. So that does it for this edition of Bullet Sport Spotlights. For head coach Greg Brown, I'm signing off for now.